Welcome to the channel where all you gotta do is continue with the plan. Okay, so this is the plasma contraption that I came up with a few months back, and I've been using it and it works pretty good. But I just set it on this patio table that I swiped out of the backyard, and I got this piece of old countertop which works fine, but it's kind of heavy and stuff. So now that I have this all scienced out, I'm going to make a little kind of a roll around wheeled mount for it. So I'm going to get rid of this big heavy thing and this wobbly table and make a little structure out of 1x2. Got some laying around here, so I'll just chop that up, put some wheels on the bottom of it, and mount this to something. Okay, so I whittled up some frames, 1x2, like 22 and a half ish. Sparklized them together, and then I got some uprights. Just cut these on my cold saw, kind of a cheesy cold saw, but it works. Okay, so I got this one sparkulated together. Got a cover on it. The way I welded this on, I'm going to clean these welds up and, so they're all nice and round and flat and stuff. But since I stitched welded this thing, the way I did that was I marked where I wanted the stitch welds with the marker. But you can't see the marker when you're welding it, so if you just tack it on each end of the stitch weld, doesn't have to be great, and then just bonk it down with a hammer so you get the gap, and it'll just kind of crunch in. You do that on all of them, and then when you start the weld, you start it right at the spot weld, the tack weld, and then when you see the other tack weld, you can stop. So, and then that keeps it nice and tight, so you don't need a zillion clamps on it. So it doesn't have to be perfectly pulled up against. When you tack it, just bonk it down with a hammer, and then it will be. And then, so anyway, I did that. I got these all welded on. I welded some wheels on the bottom. I got casters on one side and straight on the other. And then I made a little shelf here, so I got to weld that in just to hold, the giblets. And then I had to cut these corners out over here, so it would slide in around the posts. And then I just ended up using those weird shaped thingies. I'm just going to put them here. Yeah, like that. So that'll position this thing, because it moves kind of fast. And this thing will slide around, because it doesn't weigh hardly anything. So when this thing gets the plasma head moving really fast and then stops, the plasma head has got enough inertia that the whole thing moves instead of that. So you got to kind of lock it down. So that's what these guys are going to do. And then I'm going to put some, little clampy stuff. And this is the tray that I made a few weeks back with the bear traps. These guys. So, and I'm going to do the same thing with this, so the tray goes into the same stops every time, because again, it can slide around a little bit too. So, and then yeah, we'll start making more parts on this thing, because it was a scenario where it was always sitting over there in the corner, but it was just a tangle of wires, and you have to move this and that, and it was like it was just a bigger pain in the butt to get it out than to use it. So trying to get my shop into a little bit more organized, so I can just roll the tool out, plug air, plug power, go. Or maybe even just leave it on power and leave on air. Just put a little valve, boop. So I just turn the valve on, flip switch, go. And then I won't hesitate as much utilizing my equipment that I do have. So I had a little bit of a clearance problem, so I tried bending the original this doodad, and it broke. So I got a piece of copper and I made a new one. And there's the old one. What's left of it. It's very brittle. I think it's brass or something. Probably leaded, so the machine's easy. Anyway, I just measured it. There's the measurements right there. That's my cartoon. And I just made a new one. I just drilled out the broken piece up in here. And then I resoldered it. So now it clears. But sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And this one's ready for the cheese. So this is a little setup that I came up with a few weeks back to kind of utilize this plasma cutter. It's really a laser cutter that I just bolted a plasma to. But this is one of the first parts for the front suspension mounts. So this will get, these little tabs will get bent, and this is where the steering rack goes through. So this gets bent on an angle, and I'll put some cat up there. But yeah, it works good. I had to get some new tips because the tip got kind of boogered up and stuff. But yeah, so this is my setup. The Bronco frame holding up a little hunk of plastic, and yeah, that guy, after the cord string across, you can trip over him nice and easy. And yeah, I got like a little bit of water in the bottom there just to keep the sparky splashy splash down. But yeah, and then the only thing I really did any different than previously is I stopped it instead of like putting heat and all the way. See, if it gets too much heat in an area, it like warps. So what I did is I stopped it a couple times and let it sit for a couple minutes, cool down. Like here, you can see I stopped it and then just restarted it. And this Light View software that I purchased, it has a pause button right there. So you just push pause and it'll stop and turn the laser off. And then when you push restart, it keeps going. It doesn't lose its spot or anything. So it comes back to 0. So anyway, I got a lot more parts to make, but this was, I mean, this isn't the first part I made. I made some other giblets for the same kind of front suspension-y stuff, but don't worry about all these parts on the ground, it's fine. So anyways, that's where we're at. Looking good. This is the first part I ran, but it's kind of warped and misrun. Anyway, use that as a bending test thingy. Still a tiny bit warm here. This flag pretty much just falls off. There's a few spots here and there that mostly it just kind of falls off. That's good. Less cleanup work. So there you have it. I actually made something that works-ish for once. That's not so pretty, but I think I can clean that up. Flashing up water on it. That's hot, so it oxidizes quick. And I got some round tuits now. Okay, it's been a few minutes since I made the last part. This one I stopped it in between the holes, so everything fell out like it was supposed to. I'm sure there's slag on the backside, and I'm sure this is really hot, but looks a good. Okay, so this is the final product. Rolly round. I got my laptop built into it. You can't see it unless I tilt it sideways because polarized lenses. That's the light view software that I'm using. It's not great, but it kind of works. And then I got a little slide out here so I can put the laptop back inside there. And then over here, I MacGyvered my power supplies and power strip with some duct tape. It doesn't piss me off now, so that's good. Doesn't look so professional, but whatever. And then a little controller sits here. Plasma cutter sits there. And I got my tray. I got my simple green container there with water to fill this guy up so I don't have to drag the garden hose in. This is kind of heavy and unwieldy cord, so I just put the spot welder on there as well. And then this is the cheesy. Works pretty good, just to make sure it's doing the right cut. And yeah, you can see this is the clearance issue I had. This thing came straight out, and so this hose would crash into here. Otherwise, you'd lose travel. So I just made a new. Well, I tried to bend it, but it wasn't very bendy. So, and this old light holder thingy, you know, acts as a kind of a cable manager thing. So yeah, that's it. You can roll it around and slide it into the corner when you're not using it. And yeah, it takes up 4 square feet, but not too bad. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I had to do a lot of sciencing and stuff, but I think if you want to replicate it, you can just go back through my videos and don't forget to poke the subscribe button while you're doing it. And replicate this. I mean, you could make this out of something cheesier. Probably don't make it out of wood. Lots of sparks shooting out of there. And one of the other things that I noticed when I was running this thing is before you start making a part, just rotate this guy around. Not rotate, but slide. You can just push this by hand. And if it feels lumpy, it's probably because there's a little piece of a spark flew up and hit one of these rollers. So you just kind of roll it along and hold your finger against this until you knock it off, and then it's fine. So I mean, obviously these rollers aren't going to last forever. They're just made out of rubber, or urethane, or something like that. So those will probably get worn out after all the sparks keep hitting it. But the other thing that I may or may not have mentioned, but I didn't ruin the laser. I have a bag full of laser stuff that I can put a laser on here, and I can use this to cut, you know, wood patterns out or stickers or whatever. So anyway, I didn't ruin it. It just, you just unplug and replug the laser back into this, and then it works fine again. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. If you like this content and want more, subscribe, like, and share.